Today we're talking about how to organize and plan a prospect day, specific pain point for a lot of coaches, most schools that are running these, and we're in that time frame for sure. So we're going to cover some of those pain points specifically. We'll cover some of the solutions that we have available at Just Play to help with that, and then a few other items specific to presentations and how we can maybe coordinate some of the back end stuff with recruits. So yeah, just kind of a good look in at a specific process and kind of some information that I think coaches that utilize practice plans presentations really well will really like to have. So I'm going to kick it over to Catherine and Casey. Catherine's going to kind of take the lead here, and I would encourage anybody who's got questions as we jump in here to post them to chat, and I will make sure that they get seen. But with that, Catherine, we'll take it away.
Hey everyone, name's Catherine Sweeney. I, joined Just Play here in April. I was a previous user as a Division One coach the last 8 years. I obviously know Casey and I both really know, what you guys are going through right now with everything on your plate, from your student athletes being back on campus, all of those beginning of the year meetings, contact day, recruiting, official visits, unofficial visits, everything like that. So sometimes, we definitely understand that, prospect days, as important as they are, can really, kind of fly under the radar and sneak up on us quick. So we really just want to make sure that, you can utilize Just Play in more ways than just scouting and a digital playbook. There's so many different creative ways to use this platform, and this is one of them. So before we dive in, Casey, I'll have you introduce yourself.
Yeah, like Catherine said, we both started on around the same time after I was coaching Division One for 11 years. So we've been kind of brainstorming of some of the different pain points that we had when we were trying to organize or just go through different things throughout the year with coaching and see how Just Play can make that easier for you guys. So our team's just kind of been brainstorming like what are the best ways that we can show our teams and our coaches how to use this. So hopefully today we'll give you guys some more ideas.
Okay, with that, I will go ahead and share my screen. Um, so Matt and Casey, you guys will be my eyes here. Is this big enough?
Looks good.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay, so what you're looking at over here is really our admin side of things. If I switch over to our dashboard, you will see that we also put it on our dashboard. So like on the player app, so on your phone, so your entire staff can access it. Pretty much anyone who you want to access it that can see it. So heading back over here, this is all done within our presentations tab. So this would be, anything like your playbook, practice planning, you could have your own little tab that has prospect days in it as well. So if we click in here, what you're going to see first is an itinerary, right? So everybody wants to know like what we're doing. You have it planned down to the minute. You want to make sure you're putting the best product out there on the field because you have all of these high school aged kids showing up, paying money, and those parents are are wanting the most for their buck. So you really want to make sure that it's organized, well thought out, well planned. No downtime besides water breaks or anything like that, but you have it planned out accordingly. So you can type this out in here. You can, assign different things. Part of this, though, I would say is, you see the list of all of these drills here, and we know how hectic a prospect day can get. I mean, you're working on an entire field, sometimes multiple fields. So you want to make sure that your entire staff is on the same page. So they have their itinerary. If you click over here to items, now we have all of our plays. So I have gone ahead and taken all of these plays, or sorry, all of these drills from our already built out drill library. Um, Most times, prospect days, you want to be doing drills that you do in practice. You want to see how these recruiting prospects, adapt and how they play the drills that you have already that you put your team through on a daily basis. So a lot of these have already come from our drill book, our drill library here in Just Play. So super simple, super easy. I just clicked them from our drill book and dragged them over here and put them there. The only thing I would say that's different is I've really tried to map out where the balls are and things like that. So if we go over here and we can view what this looks like in the player app. So, you know, you can still print this out. I would say, as an assistant coach who has worked plenty of prospect days, I can't tell you how annoying it is to walk around all day with like a 5-page packet stuffed into my pants or my shorts, trying to make sure that you don't lose it, you know what you're doing, flipping through the pages, it just gets messy. So why not put it on your phone? You have your whole itinerary here, and now we also have the drills. So sometimes, what you thought of as your 1v1 to transition to a 2v2 drill might be different than what Casey's 1v1 from a 2v2 drill is. When you have it diagrammed out here, there's no confusion. The other piece of this too is sometimes we have, we're short staffed. You have student athletes who will volunteer to work the prospect day. And a lot of those times you're using them to set up the drills. So that includes the balls, the cones, everything. So when they have a diagram right there on their phone, to know where all of that stuff goes, is super helpful and super beneficial. And you're not, trying to explain the drill to 50 to 60 kids, high school kids that are standing in front of you, staring at you, while also trying to tell your student athletes where everything goes, and everything like that. So you'll see you have all of this. You can animate it. I'm sure people know that. You can click through the drills. So all of these, again, it helps organize it. It helps things move a little bit more seamlessly. You can insert your notes. So like you could insert here like things for people to look out for during these drills. Truly anything you want.
Catherine, I think one of the things, obviously, we see a lot of coaches really utilize a practice planning to this extent. But I think one of the things that we see when we hear from coaches when we're on site and watching practices is just the flow that happens when these things are shared to your whole staff, support staff, whether it's injured players that are helping set up drills, or managers that are getting things where they need to get balls and cones and stuff, and just how quickly these things can flow if everyone has the information right there at their fingertips. They know what's going on. And so, I think for a prospect day as well, knowing that you're putting on a show for, recruits, players, as well as
Mhm.
probably, I mean, you guys can speak to this a little more. There's probably parents watching prospect days, watching how things are flowing, watching, how things kind of sync up. Is it chaotic, or is it like, hey, let's get after it, let's get some reps kind of thing. So I think just a lot of tangible value with just the show of how this looks when you're on the field, right?
Yeah, and to go off of that, Matt, too, like I think, the show of what everything is, this generation of kids lives on their phone. So I also think for recruits to sit there and see both the student athletes and the coaches using this app on their phone to pretty much direct them and map out exactly what they're doing. And like you said, you've got parents in the stands and that you really want to put the best product out there on that field. And a huge piece of that is organization. And having all of this mapped out already. But another piece of that too is, like we mentioned at the beginning of this, like unfortunately, the fall is just such a chaotic time for college coaching staffs that sometimes like the organization piece slips a little bit because you have so much on your plate. Um, I think that's truly like the selling point here, is you can be working on this prospect day, without truly ever having to like meet about it until, maybe the morning of, maybe the night before. But you have it all, mapped out. Here's the drills we want to do. Here's the timeline of it all. And everyone on your staff is able to see that. Um, the last piece here I want to just show, is I know we used to do this a ton with the coaching staff, that I was on, but you know, we would print this out. So when, check-in happens, registration begins in the morning, we would print out the whole schedule, as well as just have like the drills ready to go. So those athletes that are showing up to impress you can take a peek at what they're going to be doing today. Oh, I've done this drill before. And sometimes it just gives them a level of confidence heading into a drill, that, maybe they didn't have somewhere else. So we would always print this out and put this on the registration table. Again, I think that also shows your organization, to the parents as well, because all the moms and dads are walking up to that registration table with all of their medical forms and everything ready to hand in. So again, having this just kind of mapped out and set out there, is truly helpful. Uh, so able to print it out, and all that good stuff. Uh, the final piece that I we want to go over, I'm going to toss it to Casey, is really how to organize all your registrants basically, because that's a whole other piece, that we have. So Casey, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and toss it over to you.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of our front office here. So we're gonna go into the prospects piece of our front office, which is new this year. We have a few teams that are utilizing it really well, especially shout out to Northwestern, who's been really crushing how they utilize this with September 1st and everything that follows that. So what we're in right now is our prospects list here. So what you guys are able to do, whether it's coming out of a tournament or going into a clinic, is you can import your CSV. So we have that whole list of all of our registrants. Now we can go in here, we can import that CSV, and that's how we're going to get all of those kids into our list, on here. So then we're going to go back to our prospects. Okay, so you can see on the right side here, we can also assign certain coaches to this, whether that's going to be for follow-up after the clinic, for calls. Maybe these were the coaches assigned for September 1st. So we know that as we're going into this clinic as well. So we're going to go over to the list now. You can really make a list for absolutely anything you want. You see up here, we have, our calling list for September 1st. We have maybe these were my top players from Live, Love, Lax. And then we're going to now go into our fall clinic roster. So these are all those players that we uploaded from the CSV that we can now see in here. So instead of the scribbling in the margins on those tiny little Excel sheets that we have printed out, I can now go in here while I'm on the field. I'm already on that app, kind of going through my itinerary, and I can click into these profiles and take my notes there. And that way, Catherine, Matt, and I are all able to do that at the same time. We can all see each other's notes. Maybe Catherine's at the other end of the field running 3v2, and I'm wondering how Katie Adams did before she comes to mine. I can see that all in there. Not only can we do that and be organized in that moment, but afterwards, you're not having to then sit down and type those handwritten notes or upload anything else. So now after the clinic, we can go through this list, go through our notes, and really see where we want to go from there with each of those kids. After clinics, it's usually pretty chaotic with like, we got to set up the meeting, we got to pull this kid in, kind of talking through how you're going to handle everything right after. And I think this makes it a little bit easier to all be on that same page. Something else we can do from here is now we go into our boards. Really, the sky's the limit with the boards. You can use this for everything from like scholarship allocation to, who's calling on September 1st, who our current roster is. So we organize this one going into the prospect day of, okay, who do we need notes on? Who do we absolutely have to see? So up top here are kind of different subject lines of club coach recommended this kid. We need to see them. They have an offer or a deadline from another school. That's always really good to know if we're working with a timeline. We're planning to offer this kid. We need to make our final decisions today. And then my, Catherine, and Matt's top list. So under it, all of this is customizable of what you want shown up on here. So we kind of did the basic setup of what we would see if we're at a tournament. And then again, down here, this is completely customizable. So we did our coach's notes, just kind of quit like, okay, coach said they want to stay local. These guys got an offer from Notre Dame. Matt hasn't seen my favorite kid yet, so we got to get eyes on him. And then where we've seen those players and who's really worked with them there. So from here, it's really easy to organize. You can see your notes. We can move these around and we can really attack it any way that we want to. When we click on these kids, we can also see their whole profile. So any information that we've uploaded from our clinics that are going to the profile, from the tournaments we've seen them at are going into this profile. Here's going to be all the notes that I took today that everyone's going to be able to see. We can go on their bio. All of this is going to be filled out if we uploaded that information in the CSV, or we can do it manually. And then if we have any videos or files that we want to attach to this as well. So it's really kind of a one-stop shop for all of this organization. And again, all of that is just coming back from your master prospect list. Um, Anything, Matt or Catherine, that I haven't touched on with the list or the boards that you guys want to throw in of how we've used them to organize or how some of our teams are?
Yeah,
I,
I go ahead, Kevin.
I was just going to say, Casey spoke a little bit to, the chaos after a prospect day and what that's like. But, we all know that that also lasts several days, if not weeks. You have kids emailing you right after the prospect day, club coaches trying to call you and just touch base on, how did Kendall Adam do at the prospect day? Like, what are your thoughts? And to be honest, like in the past, like with my printouts and stuff, like if you didn't have your packet on you while that coach called you, it's impossible to know. Or unless you're putting it in, typing up the notes afterwards and having a full document on it. I think here it's really about efficiency. Like you're taking these notes while you're watching this kid, and your entire staff has the notes on them wherever they go because your phone goes wherever you go, right? We just live in that age. So it's super helpful and beneficial in that sense. And you're not creating any extra work for yourself. You're actually just making your workflow more efficient in that sense, because you're knocking it all out while you're right there on the field.
I think it's a great point. Actually, just had a coach ping me with a question about, and in case you can hit this too, I know the answer to this, but compliance arms. Can this be exported, like notes and everything, exported and imported to compliance software?
Um, so you'd have to export and then import, but it would be kind of similar. I know a lot of times you're exporting CSVs from whatever app you're taking notes on to put into ARMS. So it'd be kind of that similar process of how I would probably go about it is export that CSV into ARMS for compliance and then into this for like your organization. If that makes sense.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Any other questions? And you can see here, like we've created some different boards here. We're going to do a little bit more in-depth webinar of everything in the front office because there's so much that you can do with it. So many different boards that you can create that have really in-depth organization. But I think for the prospect day, this is just a really good example of something easy for your staff to do.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Catherine, Casey. Appreciate you both running through that. I think it's really good showcasing just a specific problem, a specific issue that coaches are going to deal with. A lot of our coaches that we work with that just play, have these same things all the time. And so how can we utilize, the tech that we have to help with their workflows? And we see, obviously this stuff comes from feedback from coaches. We're all coaches. So we love to get the feedback, love to help in any way possible. And some of these are really successful ways that coaches are kind of tackling these problems. So appreciate everyone hopping on here to take a look. This will be emailed out as well, I think, later for anybody who could not attend. So if you do have questions about this, love to connect. Feel free to hit either one of us up. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one of these.